So I want to get back on topic with my channel with the original mission, which was to inspire black men, but all men of all races from the United States to leave the United States to seek better options. Based off my experiences, I felt like it was better. Overseas, pretty much anywhere else to me is better than the States. Even the countries I didn't like I didn't really like dating in the Philippines too much, as opposed to Brazil, somewhere like Nairobi. But I would still pick that over dating in Dallas, Texas, Austin, Texas, anywhere in the States to be exact. What is your experience with dating in the States compared to dating outside of the United States?
I'm going to answer your second question first. I was very fortunate when I was 5 years old. My father got a job with USAID as a contractor for an NGO, a non-governmental organization. And I grew up in West Philly. I was born and raised in West Philly, and at 5 years old, my dad, mom, and me picked up and moved to Accra, Ghana. I lived there from 71 to 76, from age 5 to 10, and my little sister was born there. So I had been traveling and living overseas, I like to say a lifelong expat, pretty much all my life. And it's funny, the first crush I had, I remember, was a girl named Caroline, who was the daughter of the Canadian ambassador. And that's when you start, you're getting older and you start feeling. But I returned back to Philadelphia and then matriculated through Howard University. I was married for 22 years to a black woman, and we have a lovely family. The marriage didn't work out, as happens. But I've noticed that since I've entered the dating pool again in the United States, I've run into roadblocks or obstacles or personality quirks of the modern Western woman. I'm not going to say American women. I'm not going to say black women. I'm going to say the modern Western woman.
Why do you say that?
It's a sense of overwhelming entitlement on their part. And when I date women on the African continent, when I date women in Asia, and I tell them, hey, let's meet here, we'll go there, and they're happy. Here in Bangkok, you can eat street food for $6, and she's thrilled. A woman in South Africa, I can take her to a cheesecake factory, she's thrilled. But in the DMV and in Charlotte and Atlanta, oh no, we have to go to Mastro's, we have to go to the Palm, we have to go to Ruth's Chris. Are you going to cash out me some money for my hair and nails before we meet? Are we going to go shopping?
And how much are those nails and hair usually?
Oh geez, I just think about when I was married, when my wife was getting that done. I had like a line item in the budget, about $500 a month. But that was my wife. I prepared. Didn't Jay-Z have a line in one of his raps about, I budget for her hair, nails, or something like that? Mm-hmm. So yeah, so for I was an established man who was married. But for a young brother in the dating world, with that expectation from women who were his peers, you've seen,
you're cut out.
Exactly. They'll say, yes, you're taking me to a nice meal, but you get all this, and I have to look good, and this costs money. Mm-hmm. A woman in Japan or here would never say that. First date of a woman in Japan, she opens up her purse, and she will pay for her portion. Mm-hmm. I have to insist to pay. No, that's not what we do. And she'll put the money down.
Just a consideration.
Consideration, no sense of entitlement, and appreciation for your effort and your time. Plain and simple.
I can agree to that because I had a chick that tried to shame me when I was 21, which I was doing very well for myself at 20, very, very well. But she tried to shame me because she felt like I couldn't afford to fly her out to different countries and take her on vacation. At 21, that was my expectation from the women I grew up with in my country. And so I could only imagine for that 21-year-old that's making the average, what is it, like 30 grand a year? Yeah. You're out. And then it's only getting worse. And then the cost of living is only going up. And the wages aren't going up, so it's getting even worse.
And so I'm glad you mentioned that, the cost of living, because, I did very well in the States, and I love Jersey Mike's. But you go to Jersey Mike's, you're paying $20 for a giant sub. $20 will feed me here for 3 days, 3 meals a day, eating high quality, freshly prepared food. You can take a young woman out on a date here, and you're not going to break the bank, and she will be very, very appreciative. So one of my history teachers, Howard, used to say it's a concatenation of events coming together with the weakening economy, with inflation, and with, it's like an inverse relationship where the modern Western woman, as inflation goes up, so do their expectations.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I think people pretty much get where we're coming from or why we would choose to date abroad as opposed to in the States. Would you say that we're going to go with the women? Do they welcome you here? And do the men have this? I mean, they're going to have some sort of, let's say, envious because it's a lot easier for us because we come in a different tax bracket with the average income. How welcoming or let's say, what countries do you feel the most welcome in by the women?
So it's funny that you mentioned the men, how they look at us. I remember I was a history major, and in World War II, all the Americans went over to Britain, and they were stationed over there, and they were getting all the women, and the Brits would say, 3 things wrong with the Americans is they're overpaid, they're oversexed, and they're over here. Because the local British men could not compete, the British soldiers couldn't compete with the amount of pay that Americans would get. And the Americans would have chocolate and they'd have nylons and they'd be able to wine and dine the British women. Same thing in Germany, and that's why you had the war brides, where there's an old Jet magazine cover from World War II where it has a black soldier with his Japanese wife. You can Google this. And one of my best friends, he's half German. His father is black from Philly, where I come from. His mother was from Eastern Germany, East Germany. And so I have not been in a country where the men have resented me as a man. If you're respectful, if you understand the cultural mores, they like to drink, they like to have fun also. I chop it up with men in every country. Now, as to which country is more welcoming, I would say countries that are on the outside of the modern West. So
anything east of the Soviet bloc that was there once, and Africa.
Yeah, so South America, Africa, the Pacific Rim, any place that's not industrialized, you see. What Kevin Samuels used to famously say, that we've made it so easy in the modern West for our women that they've become spoiled and entitled. And so now Japan is 3rd largest economy in the world, industrial juggernaut.
Really?
They have money, even though they've been dealing with stagnant GDP for many years. But the women there are very welcome and open and loving, and they like the masculine men. They like them. We American men, black, white, whatever, have a fantastic reputation. We hold doors open, we pay bills, we're polite, and we're just gentlemen compared to, say, other types of men.
And I noticed that a lot in South America, that the women say that we were a lot, like the stuff that we're called simps for back home is desired in other countries, because the men in these countries that we go to more often than not are a lot harder on the women.
They are. It's the entitlement hasn't gotten to Asia yet. Latin America, they're still pounding it down. It's funny, I ran across just an algorithm. There are some Asian manosphere or RP guys that I'm finding. One of them is an Asian American who's here in Thailand right now, who I stumbled across. And he says he had to get out of the modern West, and he didn't expect to meet a woman here. And he's been with her for 1.5 years.
It sounds like the art of Will.
Yeah, that's my nephew. Hey, Will Clark. Yeah, you got to come on out and visit, brother. But and I've talked to him a lot about coming on out. And so you've hit it right on the head, right there. So as far as most welcoming, I mean, like I said, I grew up in Ghana. I've been all over West Africa. I'm a very private person. but my number one draft pick is in Johannesburg.